Expansion packs and remasters of games usually enhance the game experience for fans, upgrading the graphics or providing more places to visit, weapons to use, or characters to pick from, for example. Some of the best examples of these kinds of expansion packs include the 2 expansion DLCs for The Witcher 3 or the expansion pack for Age of Empires, which not all changes are good, however, and some kinks, quirks, or useful hacks from the original version can be patched out, and some things changed altogether. This is especially the case when a developer is rushed to complete a game too soon, and the game is subsequently not a finished article. This was really evident in the original Fable, which was released with the initial Jack of Blades boss battle in the Heroes Guild Chamber of Fate as the final fight. The game was obviously incomplete. Then, about a year and a bit later, along came Fable Tlc, which was absolutely the best expansion I'd ever used at the time, largely due to it. Basically, you didn't need to have the original Fable to install, or you played Fable Tlc, and it only cost £10 back in England, brand new. Whereas even at the same time, the original Fable brand new still cost like £40, which was the going rate for brand new games. Look, it was absolutely a no-brainer, and I remember seeing it in, I think it was Electronics Boutique or maybe Game, with 2 friends of mine at the time. They had 3 copies left, there were 3 of us, so we begged them to leave them behind the counter and said we'd be back within the hour, which was always going to be pushing it, and we all rushed to our various homes to rustle up the dineros and rushed back within the hour to buy our very own copies. Not all of the changes from Fable to Fable Tlc and the subsequent remaster Fable Anniversary 10 years later were great though. Join me, Brock, from Brock and Sindri, as we look at the best 4 and the worst 3 changes from Fable to Fable Tlc and Anniversary. Best, Arkhan's battle armor. Starting with the coolest armor in the game, and it really was. It's one of the best parts of doing the Necropolis quest, Northern Wastelands of Albion. Ultimately, the armor does look a lot like bright plate armor, but with a bit of a twist. It was super cool, and it's also like kind of a cool little thing, which is it's most likely the ancient armor of your own bloodline, the hero's bloodline. Given that William Black was the Arkhan, and William Black may also be Scythe, see our 2 videos on Scythe and William Black linked in the description. It's a light armor, it's got pretty much the best defense stats in the game, and it looks pretty awesome. Especially suits you if you're a good aligned hero and you're using Avo's tier as your weapon. Worst, patching out the Rose Cottage silver key hack in Fable Anniversary. Alright. So this is probably a stupid thing to get upset about, given that getting all the 30 silver keys is really not that hard, and it's pretty fun, and you give them all away again anyway to one particular demon door in the same necropolis as mentioned in the previous entry. However, if you want to speedrun, or you accidentally miss one option, or you just choose not to do certain quests, you can miss a silver key and then potentially never have a chance of getting it back. For example, if you either choose not to court Lady Grey at all, or you find her dead sister first and then turn her in, you may miss out on the battle with Thunder, which leads you into an otherwise inaccessible side area off of Hangman's Hill, I think it is, in the north of North Bowerstone. This makes it impossible to gain this particular silver key, so instead, using the Rose Cottage / Hobbs Cave hack, you could take the Hobbs Cave quest card, do a world save just before entering the area, dig up the silver key, then do a hero save still in the area, which then saved your hero's stats and inventory only. Then reload the world to that previous save. You will still have the extra silver key, however, the world was not saved, meaning the silver key is still existing in the dig spot. And then rinse and repeat until you've hit 30 and you're absolutely laughing. Fable Anniversary made this patch out a really simple thing. You know, it doesn't offer world saves or hero saves, and instead just has a game save. Again, it's not really a big deal, but backdoor hacks and little glitches like this sometimes gave games extra character and rewarded gamers for thinking outside the box. It was one of those unique things. I guess if you want all the keys now, you have to pretty much romance Lady Grey and go down that path. Best, nerfing the Sword of Aeons. In the original Fable, the Sword of Aeons is the all-powerful sword that Jack of Blades seeks in order to wield the full power. He attains it by picking off your bloodline, basically your mum, your sister, yourself. When you finally defeat him, you too can then become evil and wield the sword. But the catch is you have to murder your sister and dump her into the vortex. Yeah, small penance, some might say, for what the sword was. And look, needless to say, it was very, very tempting. And if you did take this option, and then you set out the end credits to get your sort of free roam mode, well, you found that you now had a sword, which was a light sword, and it was a one-hit wonder with 550 HP. It also had all the right sort of augmentations, which meant that you healed faster, you regained mana, all these kinds of things. It was just so much better than anything else in the game, and the only other sword that even came close was like a slow and cumbersome two-handed sword, the Solace Greatsword. It was a true reward for the end of the game, and it made you feel totally unbeatable no matter what. When TLC came along and the game didn't end here, it totally made sense though that it would need to be nerfed to oblivion. Look, it still gives you 280 HP, which was still pretty high, however obviously not quite as OP. It also had all the same augmentations as before, so it still offered a lot of the same advantages. Health regaining, mana refilling, extra HP being earned, or experience I should say being earned. So that was pretty good. But because it wasn't the end of the story, and there was new missions to do, there was some other options. So if you threw away the Sword of Aeons, they now included Avo's Tear Sword, which was basically the good alignment equivalent, and it meant that players weren't punished for not going for the Sword of Aeons. This was, for me, a really good innovation, and the treasure hunt for Avo's Tear also made quite an interesting quest, and it also gives Maze a bit of a redemption angle post his sort of death as well. If you want to know more about both these swords, and also Maze, please check out the videos which we made on those, which I've linked in the description as well. Worst, Jack of Blades voice change. Alright, this is a controversial pick, I know. Many of you might not even be aware that they changed voice. However, in the original Fable, Jack's voice was high-pitched and subsequently really creepy. But it absolutely works and exudes sort of like a real power for someone that doesn't need to like put it on, right? It sort of reminds me of like Lord Frieza in Dragon Ball Z, like a small, diminutive, but uber confident and powerful evil ruler, right? The voice was changed for TLC, and I think it was just done through like a deep voice deepening software or something, rather than a whole different voice, because it sounds pretty much the same intonation is just deeper. Now, to be clear, the deep voice is actually great. It is. And if I hadn't heard the high-pitched one first, I wouldn't have any issue. I think it does suit Jack post Heroes Guild Chamber of Fate boss fight when he transforms himself into a dragon, but I just think in the human kind of form in the early parts of the game, the high-pitched voice suits Jack the most, and I think that they missed a beat there by changing it. Have a listen.
I have returned, after an eternity away from you all. Jack of Blades is back. This arena is all that is great in Albion, and you all that is worthy in it. I am honored to stand before you again.
I have returned, after an eternity away from you all. Jack of Blades is back. This arena is all that is great in Albion, and you all that is worthy in it. I am honored to stand before you again. And I have a proposal to mark the occasion. One final round. A fight to the death between the two heroes still standing. The winner will receive a special prize. The loser will have the privilege of dying before you.
Best. Darkwood Bordello. Alright. I know what you're thinking. I know. I get it. Right. What a creep. Anyway, this was perfectly a Fable and Lionhead type of humour. It was a great addition, awesome humour, and some real cool respite from the eerie travails that were Darkwood. There's altogether a useless demon door with, you know, you have to like get laid 10 times in game to be able to get in there, and then you get like this stupid little hat or something. But there's also like a really interesting sort of really short side quest where you can get the deeds to the bordello and then able to choose its fate, whether you want it to carry on being a bordello and instead get free poon, or if you want to turn it into a refuge. Now, it's just a fun little sidetrack, but it's good humor. And I think the other thing is when you're playing the original Fable, there was like a door or gate sort of area there, but it didn't go anywhere. Like, it was incomplete. If you want to know more about Darkwood Bordello, we have just recently-ish done a video on it. I've put the link in the description there as well. Worst. Not enough extra stuff. Alright. I know, this is falling into like toxic gamer attitudes here, but to be honest, as I've gotten older, I've kind of looked back and gone, well, actually, was there that much different? really all they did was complete the game that should have been done in the first place. It wasn't extra, really. So maybe this is entitled, and I totally wear that. You know, it is, but I was expecting even more than what they had. Maybe more weapons, more armor, more enemies, more quests, more places, especially if maybe Fable Anniversary, you know, maybe by then they could have done it. There was only really like one extra town, one extra armor, and maybe a couple of extra weapons, and the whole thing was really kind of short in the end. Really, it was like going to the Northern Wastelands, going to the Snowspire village, meeting Scythe, going to the Necropolis, getting the souls, and then slaying the dragon. It wasn't a lot. It was good, it was great in fact, but it wasn't a lot. Now I know this was back in like 2004, 2005, so unlike like The Witcher 3, they would be more limited by technology and stuff, but still, again, I'm being entitled, but every time I've played it through again, like after the first time, it just reminds me of how it's not that long. And finally, best, Oracle of Snowspire. Alright, before we get into that, I just want to do a quick honorary mention. Meeting Scythe, quote unquote, in person in Snowspire was really cool, and it's inspired this whole sort of subset kind of fan theories looking into stuff. And you know, again, we've linked to videos below. We've done a couple of videos on that have done pretty well for our channel. It's really interesting. However, the Oracle of Snowspire was really the best. It was a lore payoff for gamers and nerds kind of like us. We finally got a little bit more on, you know, info on how certain characters ended up, like Teresa or a Whisper and Thunder, assuming you didn't kill them all. I mean, there are some negatives too. I mean, the YMCA pose that you had to throw to like get it to talk gimmick was kind of amusing at first, but it was a bit cumbersome after a while when you had to do it every time you wanted to ask a question. But the answers themselves were really, really cool. Overall, I'm super glad we had the Oracle to ask about certain things and get some extra lore in an otherwise lean on lore game series. And even the lore surrounding the Oracle is light, but even that's pretty intriguing. And we've done a video on that too, also linked in the description. Was there anything you thought should have been on this list? Anything that you thought was better done in the original Fable, or glad that you've done in the remakes? Any of you haven't played the original Fable and have no idea what the hell I'm talking about? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk to you. Alright, thanks very much for listening, and look forward to seeing you in the next video.